Another day in the conservatory. Today I'm going to be tackling a little bit of plastering. Plaster, buckets for mixing and cleaning up, your mixing tool, whichever you prefer. Check out my other videos for the options, hawks, trowels, floats, high quality PPE, an old bit of plastic to collect up any leftovers, spray water bottle and an old paintbrush for finishing edges and making your life a bit easier, some kind of steps or platform to get you up high. But I'm going to start with these two items. I've got scrim tape or jointing tape and angle beading for my external corners. Start off with the tape. The joint tape is self-adhesive. It's nice and sticky. This one's been in the shed for a while, so I had to unravel it a couple of times to get to a sticky bit, but I think this is good enough. I think this will work. So I'm going to use this to cover over any joints, any holes, any cracks, or mistakes like this one where numpty cut the hole in the wrong place. So I'm going to use my sharp knife just to cut a piece off, and it sticks on there. Smooth it down, don't want any kinks in it, otherwise the trowel will catch on it. See, that bit's not sticking down very nicely. Oh, it's gone down now. A big hole in the top there. I don't know who did that. I'm sure there's a faster, better way of doing this, but this is my way. Make sure it's stuck to both sides. Doesn't matter if the tape overlaps. It's not thick enough to be a problem. And I've got this gap under the windowsill here, which I can always fill, but this tape just under the edge there just the plaster a bit of extra help. So the next job is to fit the corner beading. These come in long strips. I think these ones were 2.4 meters, and you just cut them, measure them and cut them to fit. You can cut them with a hacksaw, or I'm going to use these big old wire snips, metal cutters. They cut, I've got an offcut here to show you they cut through nicely. And then sometimes you can break that off like that. They get quite sharp on the end, so they can catch you. Let's measure this one up and get it cut. So I'm going to do this corner by the back door. Might get kicked a couple of times, so it's good to make sure it's nice and strong. Yeah, that's 850. That was the height of the plasterboard that I cut in an earlier video. So go ahead and mark on here. Eight 15mm. Just double check it on the other side. There. The cutters. Good to go. So this one here, you can see I've stuck on with the plasterboard adhesive. This corner piece I didn't stick down, I've nailed it on. Just have to make sure that your nail heads fit correctly in those holes that they've got. Keep it nice and secure. Scratcher about these parts here, because I'm not plastering this side and I'm not plastering the inside of the window reveal. I couldn't use the beading because I was only going around one side, so I've used these old bits of offcuts of wood. They're actually the old panelling that I took off from that wall over there, and screwed them to the wood both sides, so that hopefully when I've got an edge to work to, otherwise it's all going to pour over the side. Hopefully it'll work. All right. I'm going to start plastering now. I've got all my tools ready, I've got my platform ready, everything's taped up and my joints are taped. I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong place to start, but I'm right-handed, and for me it feels easier going that way. I'm only going to do this side of the room first because I dot and dabbed this side of the room yesterday, and I want to give it another couple of days to dry and harden off. Here we go. If you want more detail about how I mix up plaster, I've got another video about mixing up plasterboard adhesive. It's the same principle, same method, plaster slightly different consistency. I'll show you that in a second. So I always remember a couple of tips that my mate Terry the plasterer taught me. Always keep your buckets, your water and your tools clean. The last thing you want is a bit of grit or something in your plaster. You'll never get it flat. I use a water spray bottle just to get everything wet. It's less like, the plaster's less likely to stick to it permanently if it's damp. And I'm going to use this as my application trowel. I've got a different one I use for smoothing over. I've got my bucket trowel here, so that's my consistency. It's movable, but it's not going to fall off that trowel. So the first coat you put on a little bit thicker, second coat goes on a bit thinner. Always 2 coats. So I'm going to start off by putting a little bit on my hawk. And scraping it off, and that just helps keep the plaster on the hawk when you get it on the wall. Okay, just going to put some on this hawk. And I love watching the professionals do it because they make such a little mess and I make a massive mess. But what I've learned is don't worry about getting it smooth at the moment. You just need to get it on the plasterboard. And it's new plasterboard, so you don't have to prime it or anything like that. It can go straight on. Just need to cover everywhere you want to go. And I'm going to go from the corner across to my beading. And you do want to work fast. I've had the heating on this morning, but I have opened the windows. There's a big lump on the floor there. But obviously the warmer it is in the room, the quicker it's going to dry and set, and you won't be able to move it around as much. So speed is of the essence at this stage, I feel, which is can be quite stressful, but the worst that can happen is that you have to pull it all off and start again. And that's not that bad in the grand scheme of things, is it? On there. Without sticking your fork in it, I'll open that. That's where my cable is for my light. I mustn't forget that's there. I'll cover that up. There we are. Just get that on there. Disaster has struck. I just kicked the bucket of water all over the floor. So I now got a flood and I'm only this far from the end. Crisis! Well, that was quite hectic. I don't know if you can see behind me the annihilation. Water went all the way under there. That rug is completely soaking wet. There's water everywhere. But there is plaster on the wall. It's not flat yet, but it's the first coat and I haven't gone over it with my float yet. I think I'm going to get on with mopping up in a minute. This is, despite me turning the heating off and having the windows open, it is drying quite quickly. So I'm going to go over it with my better float here. See these high spots here? Hopefully with this more flexible one I can, see I made it worse, always make it worse. Go over that and smooth that down. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a perfect flat finish because this is not the final coat, but I think it helps just to take the biggest lumps and bumps out before the second coat goes on. Second coat is on. Doesn't that look nice? Smooth operator. Yeah. It's time to smooth it over. First pass. Second pass. And final pass. I'm going to stop there. One of the biggest challenges of plastering, I think, is knowing when to stop. I think once I've tidied up the edges, that's going to be good enough for me. Well, that's that done then. Plastering is not an easy job, but I'm feeling pretty proud of myself right now. I think once it's all painted, it's going to look much better than it did before. If you've enjoyed watching this video, check out my other videos on my channel, Make It, Do It, Mend It, and look out for some videos coming up for decorating and flooring. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.